Okay, hello everybody. Today we're here in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 in the Chancellor 414 AW. We have a 576 nautical mile flight from Foxtrot Lima Lima, Fort Lauderdale, to Foxtrot Alpha Yankee, Fayetteville, North Carolina. We'll be going up high to 17,000 feet, and we'll be flying IFR. I'll also give you an update on an important milestone I hit in my real-life flight training. Let's hop into the pilot seat and get started. Okay, we've got real weather active and a bit of weather heading to the south of us, but hopefully we can take off and head north before we encounter it. So we'll check our circuit breakers are in on the left and the right panel. That looks good. Then we'll head down to our tanks and get the left and the right tanks both into the green to the main tanks. We'll head over here to our throttle quadrant and get the mixture left and right to full rich. Then we'll get our prop left and right to full forward. We'll crack open the throttle, and then we'll get our cowl flaps opened. Looks good. Over to the left panel, we'll flip up the breaker bar, turn on the battery, alternator 1, alternator 2. We'll turn the selector switch over to volts so we can verify the battery has sufficient charge to start the engine. It does, so that looks good. We'll get on our nav light. Okay, we'll head over here and check our fuel quantity left-right. We don't have completely full tanks because we've got a couple passengers and a long flight, and we want to make sure that we are not overweight. That all looks good. Now back over to the panel, and we will turn on the strobes, getting ready to start. Flip up the bar over the magnetos, turn on mag left and right on the left engine, left and right on the right engine. Then we'll get the fuel pumps to low for the left and the right engine. Flip over the left engine primer to prime it. Clear prop. And ignition. And we can see we've got a good start. We've got oil pressure on the left engine. We've got the RPMs coming up and stabilizing. Everything looks good there. Now we'll get the right engine started. Same procedure, we primed it. And ignition. Good start. We're good to go. Okay, back down here we'll flip our selector switch to ammeter, and we'll verify that we are getting current generated from both alternators. That looks good. So now we are clear to turn on the avionics. It's the white button in the lower right hand side there. And we can also turn off the fuel pumps. Okay, on the left screen we'll punch in our airport, bring up the frequencies page, and we'll get ready to start plugging in the frequencies. And then on the right screen we've got our flight plan, which is blank right now, so we'll put in our origin and destination airports, Foxtrot Lima Lima for origin, and Foxtrot Alpha Yankee for destination. Next we'll punch in the ATIS and get the real world weather. This is liveatc.net streaming, real world ATIS. Alright, we've toggled over to clearance delivery. Let's give them a call. Fort Lauderdale clearance, Chancellor 5 Alpha Mike, IFR to Fayetteville, Foxtrot Alpha Yankee, ready to copy. Okay, on departure fly, runway heading, radar vectors Palm Beach, Papa Bravo India, then as filed. Climb and maintain 2000, expect filed 10 minutes after departure. Departure 119.7, squawk 2313, Chancellor 5 Alpha Mike. Alright, I have to type all of that manually into the Garmin, and while I do, I'll give you an update on my real-life flight lessons. So you can probably guess what my major milestone is. I soloed! And it was awesome. And it was almost comical getting there because I've been trying to solo for the past 3 months, and just things kept coming up. If you listen to my channel, I got COVID, so I was out for a while. I I had a change of flight instructors because their schedules changed, the weather was not cooperating, all of that stuff. But finally, last Monday, it happened. I didn't know I was going to solo that day. We were just practicing touch and goes in the pattern. It was a little bit before sunset, and I just set down 3 really nice landings. We were in the downwind for the 4th landing when my CFI says, "Hey, is your logbook here in your flight bag?" And as soon as she said that, my stomach dropped out, because the only reason she would want to access my logbook while we were still in flight was to put the solo endorsement in it, because I realized she's going to hop out of this airplane when I land. And that is exactly what happened. We landed, and she said, "How do you feel?" And I said, "I feel awesome." She said, "Do you want a solo?" I was like, "Yes, I absolutely want a solo." So she hopped out and sent me on my way to do 3 landings to a full stop with a taxi back for each one. And I think the only time I was nervous during the entire solo was when she initially asked for my logbook, because I realized it's happening right now. And during that initial first taxi out onto the runway, when I lined up with the numbers and I'm just looking at the sun setting over the horizon, and I realized, here goes. Once I take off, right, the only way to get back on the ground in one piece is to land it. So you just have to make it work, and you're committed once you take off. So I was a little nervous there, but there you go, full throttle, and I go up. Here's my first takeoff that she filmed. And we have done so much pattern work that once I was up in the air, it was a series of tasks. It was just, here's my speeds, here's where I put in the flaps, come in, land, clean up, taxi back, do it 2 more times. So at the end, I taxied back to the hangar. She took this picture as I shut down the aircraft. My original flight instructor was there also, so both of them greeted me outside of the aircraft and congratulated me on my solo. And then they took me inside and cut off the back of my shirt, which, fortunately, ever since I've been talking about soloing, I've been wearing 2 shirts in case it randomly happened one night. So I was prepared for that. They're all signing it at the school. After she filled in my logbook, she said, "You have pilot in command hours now." And I think that's when it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. I have pilot in command hours. I just soloed. Like, it was funny. When I was doing it, I was just flying. And it wasn't until we got to the point where I filled out the logbook that it finally kind of hit me all at once. So it was just a perfect evening for it. And it felt awesome to finally get there. My next lesson, I get to do it all over again. So we're going to head out to the practice field, do some maneuvers out there, come back, probably do some touch and goes, and if the weather is good, she's going to hop out, and I'll do another 3 laps around the pattern all by myself. I wish I had some audio or video to share with you guys, but ironically, even though I record the cockpit audio from all of my flight lessons, my David Clark headset broke the lesson before my solo, so I was using the school's half-working headset, and the airplane I was flying wasn't the normal one I was in, and its push-to-talk button was broken, so they had a Velcroed-on manual push-to-talk button, so it was just like a comms nightmare, and I had no comms, but it was fine. It was like one less distraction for me, that I could just focus on flying and not worrying about being recorded. We'd already dipped our toes into some cross-country flights. I'll put a clip of a video you may have seen if you watched one of my pilot update videos, which was my last one over a foggy river in the morning, which was just awesome. So I am looking forward to the next stage of flight lessons when we get into more and more cross-country, because that's the whole point of flying. It's to go other places, and I'm just really excited about the adventure of it. All right, we're looking good here in the Chancellor, so let's open up Navigraph and I'll take you through the flight brief. Alright, we're parked here on the west ramp at Fort Lauderdale, and the winds have us departing out of 10 left. So, should be a straightforward set of taxi instructions to get there. We'll be flying the Fort Lauderdale 9 departure. That one's pretty straightforward. So, as a piston aircraft, we've been instructed to climb and maintain 2,000 and fly, in this case, runway heading, which is what ATC gave us. Then they'll vector us to Palm Beach. From Palm Beach, we'll be following Victor 3, Victor 437, Victor 1, back to Victor 437, and then Victor 56 to Fayetteville, and we'll be climbing up to 17,000 feet. We're expecting the RNAV approach for runway 22 at Fayetteville, which means we need to arrive at Eugoro at 2,300, then descend to Morgie at 1,800, where we'll intercept the glide slope. Fort Lauderdale ground, Chancellor 5 Alpha Mike, west ramp at FBO, taxi with information Victor. Taxi and hold short, runway 10 left via Echo, Charlie, Charlie 2, Bravo 2, Chancellor 5 Alpha Mike. Okay, as always, we're listening to live ATC net for Fort Lauderdale. We've also got real-life weather and time running. You can see we've got a lot of clouds here. It's been fairly rainy and a bit stormy in Southern California this past week. We've got some dark clouds off to the left here, but looking at the radar track, that's all going to be south of us. We're going to head north. So I think we'll get away from the weather pretty quickly on departure. Fort Lauderdale is a beautiful payware airport. However, I notice it really impacts frames. So I think once we get away from the airport, frame rates will start to pick up. There's those clouds looking pretty ominous again, off to our south. Fort Lauderdale Tower, Chancellor 5 Alpha Mike holding short, runway 10 left. Cleared for takeoff, runway 10 left, Chancellor 5 Alpha Mike.
Caribbean 0. 30, runway 10 right, line of flight. Fort Lauderdale Tower, Southwest 3925, this would be ILS 10 left. United 1688, contact Miami departure.
And as we swing the nose around here, you can see some traffic taxiing that has the correct livery on it. That is courtesy of Aerosoft's Simple Traffic. I do have AIG traffic as well. I'm not using it right now. It was just a little too problematic for me, and I wanted something that was simple that you could just set and forget. And Aerosoft Simple Traffic fits the bill for that. Once again, we'll be using the Sky Dolly freeware plugin. Be sure to check the video details if you would like that. And that'll give us some of those great exterior camera shots, like the one you're about to see for us taking off. Okay, and rotate.
About 2.5 miles southbound 1,300 type unknown. Southwest 3925 Fort Lauderdale Tower, runway 10 left, continue traffic holding in position. Traffic crossing your final southbound is a airport. Thank you.
We've got my buddy Floyd here as the co-pilot for today's flight. I missed flying with him.
Spirit 1215, traffic on a 5-mile final, runway 10 left, line up and wait.
Alright, we just got our initial vector to Palm Beach from ATC, so we're going to execute a left-hand turn here.
Spirit 1215, RNAV to Marley, runway 10 left, clear for takeoff, 07013.
The photogrammetry in this area just looks fantastic. Alright, we are on track. Let's sit back and enjoy that awesome flight simulator scenery. Alright, another beautiful flight in the Chancellor 414. I do love flying this plane, and it's awesome both for VFR and IFR flying. It was also awesome to tell you about my first solo, so you can watch for future flight lesson updates. I'm sure I'll have lots of them. So if you enjoy content like this, as always, be sure to leave me a comment, click that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. It really helps the channel, and you know how YouTube works. The more people click on like, the more people get to see the video. So thanks as always for flying along with me, and stay tuned for further flight adventures.